I'm the one who ended up pregnant with the president's child, so the position of the wife is mine now. At that moment, something inside me snapped. She had been mocking me, the president's wife, flaunting her youth and constantly trying to one-up me. And now, after taking my job as the secretary, she was trying to take my husband too. Well, I won't hold back anymore. I'm going to drag you both down to hell. I decided to bless my husband and Mina on purpose. I personally stamped the divorce papers that Yosef handed to me. Of course, I received a generous amount of alimony. The two of them later had a grand wedding in Hawaii. The situation changed a week later. I got a call from Mina. Hey! Yosef hasn't come back home. You're his ex-wife, you must know where he is, right? Mina's voice was panicking. Just as I expected, I couldn't help but smirk. Oh, I kept quiet, but he is. What? I exposed my husband's shocking secret. My name is Kelly. I'm a 58-year-old homemaker with a job. I work as the president's secretary at my husband Yosef's company. At 6 a.m. I wake up earlier than my husband and prepare breakfast. Then I go to work alone, tidying up and cleaning the president's office. It's a daily routine. I do it so Yosef can work comfortably. At 8 a.m. Yosef comes into the president's office. Oh, thank you, Kelly. You cleaned again today, huh? I approach Yosef and retie his tie. It's fine, dear. You want to work in a clean room, don't you? Yes. Yosef and I had an arranged marriage. Though we were not blessed with children, we have been living together, making compromises and supporting each other. This year marks our 30th anniversary. Yosef took over the company from his father-in-law, and the business is stable. I have no complaints about our life. That's right. The new business project you planned, Kyle has decided to fund it. The transfer was confirmed just now. That's great. Kyle seems to like you, so it was good you negotiated with him. This company is run by Yosef as the president, and his brother Kyle as the chairman. By the way, didn't Kyle fund another new business project you planned before? Aren't you going to proceed with that one? When I asked casually, Yosef looked a bit annoyed. That's fine, I'll handle it. Is that so? Your schedule is completely free today, right? Yes, because you mentioned it before. Yosef smiled contentedly. Good. Then, there's someone I want you to meet. I'll bring them over now, so wait here, okay? Okay. Someone he wants me to meet? I felt a slight unease at those words. Soon, I could hear laughter from the hallway. One was Yosef's voice, and the other, a young woman's. As they seemed quite familiar with each other, I tilted my head in confusion just as the door to the president's office opened. Sorry to keep you waiting, Kelly. Yosef said to me with a happy face. But I forgot to reply to Yosef, as I was completely fixated on the woman standing next to him. She was very young. Her hair was a shade of blonde so light it was almost gold, and she wore a miniskirt that fully showed off her thighs and a camisole with a plunging neckline. It looked like something one would wear to go out at night. Yet, the woman in front of me pulled it off brilliantly, leaving me astonished at what youth could do. This is Mina. She'll be working here from today. Nice to meet you. I was dumbfounded. This has to be a joke, right? Being introduced to a young woman by my husband was bad enough for my heart. And we don't even hire fresh graduates. Excuse me, but how old are you, Mina? I'm 23. I met him at a bar with friends recently, and he approached me. We just hit it off, and I felt energized by her youthful and fresh vibe. Don't you think her presence will boost our employees' morale? Right? I see. He must be serious. Faced with Yosef's sparkling expression, I found myself unable to say anything. Then, Kelly, could you teach Mina the ropes? Mina is going to work as a regular employee, right? Then, shouldn't she? Oh, I forgot to mention. We decided to go with a two-person secretary team from now on. So, please teach her about being a secretary. A two-person team? Is that really necessary? Come on. You're getting on in years, so it wouldn't hurt to pass some work on to the younger ones, haha. Yosef laughed lightly, causing a sharp pain in my chest. Getting on in years, you say that like... All right then, take care. I've got some errands to run. I'm counting on you for secretary training. With that, Yosef left the president's office, leaving me and Mina behind. I took a deep breath to calm myself. Once Yosef makes up his mind, he charges ahead. And he ends up failing and regretting it alone. This has happened many times during our marriage. It's useless to say anything now. For now, I'll just do as he says. It's bound to fail anyway. Hey, Kelly. Mina tapped my shoulder. Yes? How old are you? Feeling it was only fair since I asked her age, I told her the truth. I'll be 58 this year. However, my honest feelings didn't seem to reach Mina. Wow. That's the same age as my grandma. You never know when you're gonna drop dead. And you're still working, how pitiful. I gave a wry smile. I like my job. It's not pitiful. Oh, right. The pitiful one is your husband, then. Coming home or at work, he's always with an old hag. Really, it's sad. One after another, her words made my face twitch. What exactly are you trying to say? You don't get it? Guess it's true what they say about slowing down with age. Mina sighed heavily and stated clearly. Being young and pretty puts me in a better position than an old lady like you. You get it, right? Her smile as she said this made me shudder. I couldn't stay silent any longer. You know, you really should learn some manners. Oh, are you mad? Is it menopause or something? Huh? See, you get angry so easily. It must be tough to keep working if you're like this. Plus, menopause means lots of sweating and shortness of breath, right? Trying so hard when you're like that is just unseemly. Maybe it's time to retire? As I stood there dumbfounded, Mina chuckled and whispered in my ear. Maybe you should retire as the president's wife, too. I shivered. She's trying to take Yosef away from me. I raised my voice without thinking. Enough is enough. I can't teach someone with such intentions any work. Leave the company right now. I expected an argument, but Mina just stared at me. Tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry. What? I didn't mean it. I just wanted to get along with you, and I joked, but this is too much. Mina collapsed to the floor, sobbing. She looked like the tragic heroine of a story. I'll leave this company. Thank you for everything. Mina ran out of the room. What is happening? I was so taken aback by the sudden turn of events, I was left speechless for a while until Mina returned. With a red-faced Yosef in tow. What are you doing? His sudden shout made me tremble. What's wrong, dear? I heard from Mina. You yelled at her. It's because she said something terrible. Don't lie. I've heard the whole exchange. Huh? Turns out, Mina had recorded our argument on her phone. The recording started just as I scolded Mina, making it seem like I suddenly attacked her without reason and made her cry. So that's why Mina apologized so readily. Even fake sobbing. I bit my lip in frustration. You don't believe me, then? Believe? Mina came to me in tears, accusing you. There's even a recording. It's clear whose words have more credibility. A secretary who bullies employees is fired, effective today. What? I couldn't believe my ears. I had always supported Yosef, at home and at work. And now he's choosing Mina, who just joined, over me. Wait, then who will do the secretary's work? It's obviously Mina. That's impossible. And what about, your hobby? I swallowed the words I had let slip. Let me rephrase in a way only Yosef would understand. Your hobby. I'll manage that myself. I prefer the pure and cute Mina over a liar like you. Isn't a young and beautiful girl like her more suitable for me than an old one like you? Yosef narrowed his eyes happily, looking at Mina beside him. Mina looked up at Yosef with the biggest smile and then glanced at me, sticking out her tongue ever so slightly. I protested repeatedly, but Yosef wouldn't listen. The job of a secretary is not easy. Even though I insisted that Mina couldn't handle it, I only got optimistic words in return, like I was exaggerating or you won't know until you try. He must think he's become her knight in shining armor. I was speechless at how carried away he was, not seeming like someone who runs a company. In the end, Yosef threw out my personal items from the workplace. Instead, he arranged a brand new desk and cute stationery for young people for Mina. It was clear then, nothing I did would matter. Realizing this, I decided not to waste any more effort and left the company. However, Yosef didn't return home that night. And he didn't respond to my messages. I thought it was just his way of getting back at me, but after a week, a month, 3 months, I started to worry. Then one day, Yosef called me to the company, and I headed to the president's office. Maybe he finally realized how difficult the secretary job is. Thinking of firing Mina and calling me back? With a little hope, I knocked on the president's office door. "Come in." As I opened the door, an unbelievable scene unfolded before me. Yosef, smiling happily, was holding hands with Mina beside him. They both looked at me and laughed joyously. "It's been a while, Kelly. We have big news today." "What is it?" "Actually, I." Then Mina placed her hand over Yosef's mouth. "Let me say it. Okay? I want to thank you." "Right." Yosef nodded deeply, and Mina, with a beaming smile, said to me, "We're getting married. Thank you for taking care of my soon-to-be husband so far." "What?" In front of my shaken self, Yosef laughed shyly. "Well, I thought there's no point in hiding it. I'm gonna start a second life. You're getting on in years too, it's better for you to live quietly by yourself." "That's so selfish." I felt the blood drain from my entire body. "Wait a minute. The story isn't over yet. Here, a present. I even went to the trouble of making copies for you." Mina handed me several sheets of paper. They were black and white prints of an ultrasound photo. Seeing them, I felt like throwing up. "This ultrasound, don't tell me." Mina nodded slowly and gently stroked her stomach. As she came closer, she whispered in my ear, "I'm pregnant with the president's child, and I'll be taking over as his wife." At that moment, something inside me snapped. She had been mocking me, boasting about her youth, and relentlessly trying to one-up me. And now, she had taken my job as the secretary and was trying to take my husband. Well, no more holding back. I'm going to drag you both down to hell. I decided to bless my husband and Mina on purpose. I signed the divorce papers that Yosef handed to me. Of course, I got a generous amount of alimony. They had a grand wedding in Hawaii afterward. Things changed a week later. I got a call from Mina. "Hey! Yosef hasn't come back home. You're his ex-wife, you must know where he is, right?" Mina's voice was panicking. Just as I expected, I couldn't help but smirk. "Oh, I kept quiet but, he has." "What?" I exposed my husband's shocking secret. "He's got a favorite hobby. He's probably in Macau right now." "Macau? Haven't you heard? There's this big hotel in Macau with a casino. Yosef always rushes there whenever he has the chance." Mina gasped. "Does that mean?" "Yes. Yosef is probably indulging in gambling right now. I managed his schedule well so he wouldn't get too involved. Obviously, he kept that a secret from the new secretary. He didn't want to show his bad side of squandering money on gambling." Mina was so shocked she couldn't say anything. I chuckled softly. "I'm actually thankful to you." "What?" "Yosef started getting into gambling in recent years, apparently introduced by a new business contact. And? Before you came along, I still had some affection for Yosef and worried about his downfall. But now, I've completely cut ties. Taking in such a worthless man and even giving me a hefty alimony, there couldn't have been a better opportunity. Thanks to you, I'm looking forward to my second life." I laughed heartily. I could hear heavy breathing from the other end of the phone. "Don't mess with me, you old hag. Getting all high and mighty." "Well then, goodbye. You're going to have a tough time," I said sarcastically, ignoring Mina's screaming from the other end, and hung up. A few days later, as I was relaxing in my new apartment, the doorbell rang. A courier, perhaps? I wasn't expecting anything. Curious, I peeked through the peephole. There stood my ex-husband Yosef, his face flushed with anger. "You're there, aren't you, Kelly? How dare you tell Mina about the gambling?" "Ah, the gambling." Realizing the connection, I decided to open the door and let Yosef in. He must have gone to a detective agency to track me down. Running now would only lead him to chase me. Better to settle this here. I had important information to share with him. I prepared a clear file with documents before opening the door. "It's been a while, hasn't it?" I greeted him with a graceful smile. What do you mean it's been a while? How can you smile after destroying someone's home? Yosef was furious, getting up in my face and yelling. He might have been trying to intimidate me, but that kind of thing wouldn't work on a wife who had been by his side for years. Getting so red-faced. What happened? It's none of your business. I couldn't help but snicker. He had just come here to vent his anger. But it was obvious to me what had happened between them. Let me guess, you had a marital spat? Shut up. Mina must be upset about you gambling away most of your income. I managed your salary, and you were put on an allowance system, weren't you? Yosef froze, looking startled. How do you know that? Did you plant a bug or something? I burst into laughter at his serious accusation. Because you've done the same thing before with me. When your gambling came to light. And you said, what's wrong with spending my own money on my hobbies? You probably said the same thing to Mina, and then came to take it out on me after fighting with her, right? Yosef bit his lip, clenching his fists in silence. You shouldn't underestimate a wife of 30 years, should you? With a frustrated Yosef in front of me, I mentally chided him. You should be thankful I was your secretary. I managed your schedule to limit your gambling time as much as possible to prevent your ruin. I wonder if Mina can do that, being 23 and naive. Well, you'll just have to make do, won't you? Now that you're having a baby. The baby. At the mention of the word, Yosef's face lit up. What an easy-to-read man. Yeah, that's right. Mina and I are having a baby. Unlike you, who's infertile, Mina can give me an heir. You lost as a woman. Yosef looked down on me triumphantly. Well, good for you. We're happy. Stop trying to ruin my family. I came here to warn you today. Yosef pointed at me firmly. I tilted my head, feigning confusion. Me, ruin? That's the last thing on my mind. In fact, I'm trying to help you. Help me? Yosef looked utterly baffled. Have you and Mina been to the hospital? Huh? That's a place for women. Mina wanted to go alone, so I didn't accompany her. You saw the ultrasound, right? On glossy, thick photo paper. No, what I saw was on regular thin paper. Figures. I presented Yosef with several photos from a file. They were grainy black and white images. It's a baby's ultrasound photo. Yosef's eyes widened in shock. A baby's ultrasound? Don't be ridiculous. These are what Mina gifted me. She's quite prepared, printing these off the internet for me too. The internet? Yosef looked puzzled as I handed him a piece of paper. It was a printout of a blog post from 2 years ago. The post was about a pregnancy announcement and an ultrasound photo. Compare this with the photos from earlier. Notice anything? After looking back and forth between the photo and the article, Yosef's face turned pale. No way! That's the situation. I showed Yosef how the blog's photo and Mina's ultrasound matched perfectly when held up to the light. From the noise to the baby's silhouette. Ever heard of image search? It's a function that finds similar images on the internet based on one you have. That's how I found this blog. She probably copied the entire article and cut out the photos neatly. So, the baby. As the color drained from his face, Yosef looked like he was about to collapse. I decided to deliver the final blow. It's a lie. There's nobody in her stomach. Yosef crumpled to his knees. No. She wouldn't lie about something like that. It's impossible. I bought her everything, luxury brands, bags, even an expensive engagement ring. Yosef pounded the floor with his fists, unleashing his muddled emotions. His figure was so comical that I couldn't help but let my cheeks relax. Such a shame you couldn't become a father. When you think about it, at your age, it's questionable whether you could father a child anyway. Thinking a young woman would automatically mean children, such a naive thought. Ugh. Go directly to Mina for the truth. I'll call her over right now. He seemed to lack the energy to argue. Yosef just hung his head in silence. I called Mina to this apartment. After a while, the doorbell rang, and I opened the door. Upon seeing Yosef and me together, she screamed. What are you doing? Trying to steal Yosef back from me? Not at all. Didn't I say I was thankful to you? I have a baby in my belly. You can't tear us apart. Mina shouted triumphantly, not listening to me. She entered the room, shoes on, and gently embraced Yosef's shoulder. Are you okay? Let's go back and talk about money. I'll manage the salary. That's okay, right? We'll overcome this trial together. Because in my belly is. Be quiet. Yosef slowly stood up. He looked at Mina steadily and quietly opened his mouth. You're lying about being pregnant, aren't you? Mina's face contorted visibly. What? What are you talking about? Tell me the truth, Mina. I am pregnant. I showed you the ultrasound photo. It's the crystallization of our love. Denying it is cruel. Ugh. Mina collapsed to the floor, breaking into tears. But soon, she looked up and glared at me sharply. Of course, that old hag must have poisoned your mind. Just because she's old and jealous of my youth and beauty. Mina snorted arrogantly. I laughed back at her. Is that all you wanted to say? What? Hey, Yosef, let's just go, okay? Mina tugged at Yosef's arm. Yosef brushed her hand away. Enough, Mina. Huh? Yosef thrust the blog post copy and the ultrasound photo at Mina. I can't escape the truth anymore. I trusted you, and you lied to me. I was so happy when you said you were pregnant. Then, Mina's expression faded. Hey, Yosef. What? Tears welling up, Mina looked up at Yosef with puppy eyes. I just wanted to test your love for me. I was scared you were just playing with me, so I said I was pregnant. Then you said you wanted the baby, and I was so happy. Yosef seemed not entirely displeased. So, you lied because you love me? That's right. We can still have a child. With my beauty and your brains, we'll have a wonderful child who'll become a president and make lots of money. That's impossible. I brought Yosef and Mina back to reality. Excuse me. We were having a moment. Do you think this man has money? I asked calmly. Of course. He's the president, after all. Indeed, the company has been going on for generations and isn't doing poorly. But that's about the company as a whole. This man is a gambler. You understand what that means, right? Huh? Mina's face turned pale as she clung to Yosef. Hey, Yosef, you're rich, right? You told me, I have so much money, marrying me will guarantee a wealthy life. Cornered, Yosef said in a faltering voice. It's okay. I've lost some money gambling, but the company is starting a new venture soon. That'll be a big win. What are you talking about? I pointed out Yosef's ugly lie. I know for a fact there's no such new venture planned. What do you mean? You got funding from Kyle recently, didn't you? Where's that money now? Surely, it wasn't used to buy brand goods or an engagement ring for your new wife? I glared at Yosef. What are you talking about? I would never do such a thing. Yosef laughed mockingly. But his voice was trembling. I let out a short sigh. You embezzled the company's money, didn't you? When I stared at him directly, Yosef swallowed hard. I had my suspicions. You've been saying I'm starting a new venture since the beginning of the year, getting financial support from Kyle. But there's been no progress on any project. It's strange not to suspect something. So, I talked to Kyle and decided to gather concrete evidence. You and him, you teamed up? Then, the deposit from Kyle that day. It was a decoy. You transferred the funds for the new venture into your own account, didn't you? It seems you've been making it hard to trace by funneling through various accounts before, but this time you put it directly into your own account. What, were you desperate for money? Trying to prove to Mina you were rich? Yosef mumbled something in response, just as I had said. I delivered the final blow. You're finished. Get arrested and live the rest of your life as a convict. Shut up. It's a family matter. I'll probably get probation anyway. And Kyle will pay the bail if I'm charged. I'll be out in no time. Yosef was trying to reassure himself. And why do you even know about this? You were fired by me. It's none of your business. Kyle told me. Kyle? Yes, I was hired by him. What? Yosef's mouth fell open in astonishment. I explained calmly. Yes. He contacted me right after hearing you had dumped me. He apologized for his brother's terrible behavior and asked if he could hire me back. I immediately said yes. You didn't know, did you? Kyle was hiding that from me? Damn him. I'll confront him right now. I'm grateful to Kyle. He's entrusted me with schedule management. And my salary is even better than before. As I showed a beaming smile, Yosef gritted his teeth. That Kyle! Messing with me! I'm going to confront him right now. The moment Yosef was about to leave the house. Hey! Mina grabbed Yosef's arm. She pulled him towards her with a force, bringing her face close to his. Her expression was demonic. Hey! What? Yosef was taken aback by Mina's uncharacteristically deep voice. Taking a deep breath, she yelled. You lied to me. Flaunting your wealth, and then it turns out you're just an old criminal. Damn it. I'm sorry, Mina. Yosef, visibly frightened, gently held Mina's hand. Looking into her eyes, he slowly said. But it's okay. I'll probably get probation, and I can return home. I might be kicked out of the company, but without money, we can still be happy together. Don't mess with me. Mina shook off Yosef's hand and glared at him as if he were filth. You think a woman as young and beautiful as me would live with a broke old man like you? I lied about being pregnant to get us married. What a waste of time. And now there's a mark on my family. The worst. Mina pushed past Yosef and left the room. Mina, wait for me, Mina. Shut up. Mina slammed the door behind her. Yosef, abandoned by his beloved new wife, stood at the doorway like a ghost. I spoke to Yosef. Please leave. This is my house. Hey, Kelly. What? Can't we start over? Me as the president, and you as my secretary, like before. Yosef showed a pleading smile, but I shook my head firmly. That's impossible. I hate you. I never want to see your face again. Yosef's eyes widened, and he started to tremble. That's enough of that. I opened the door and pushed Yosef out. As I locked the door and started watching TV, Yosef, realizing everything was over, quietly left the apartment. Later, Yosef was arrested by the police. He had thought Kyle would pay his bail, but that didn't happen, and he was moved to a cold detention center alone. Yosef was arrested for embezzling the funds raised by Kyle. However, it was also discovered he had taken money from business partners and related companies under the pretense of starting new ventures, which he then used for personal expenses. Yosef was sentenced to prison without the possibility of probation and would not be out for several years. As for Mina, she was suspected of conspiring with Yosef and was interrogated. Although no evidence of conspiracy was found, the police discovered she had defrauded several businessmen. She approached a man in a bar who seemed to have money, befriended him, became a lover, and then begged him for a lot of money, saying he needed money to pay for an operation for his pregnant parents. In other words, Yosef was also Mina's prey. She was arrested on charges of fraud. In this way, the two were taken into the care of the police. It's been half a year since Yosef was arrested. I still work with Kyle. It's not easy to restore the image of a company that has been involved in a scandal, and he is constantly worried. I would like to support him. I feel strongly that I am indebted to him. In the evening, I returned to the company with him. He sat deeply in his chair and exhaled. I'm quite tired today. We kept having meetings. He looked into my eyes and smiled. Thanks to you for choosing a good restaurant, I enjoyed my meal. Many of my stakeholders are around the same age as me, so they were happy to find a restaurant that was both healthy and luxurious. It was like a surprise. We had a lively conversation. He gave a gentle smile. Unlike Yosef, Kyle is always calm and relaxed. His sincere character can be seen. I feel a human attraction to him. Thanks for the words. He let out a satisfied sigh. I'm surprised that someone so talented would marry my younger brother. I chuckled. He's my ex. I don't have anything to do with him anymore. That's right. By the way, how long will you be working? Don't you think it's time to retire and live quietly at home? I answered with a smile. I like to work. As long as I can move, I want to work. He nods happily. I want you to work with me to help rebuild this company. I think we will be working together for a long time, and I will continue to ask for her help. I nodded loudly. Yes. When I answered enthusiastically, he seemed to find it funny and laughed happily. My heart warms when I see that. My second life will definitely be fun. That's what I thought as I looked at his smiling face.